So you're thinking about making the move to Montana? Well, in this video, we are going to be exploring the Bitterroot Valley, specifically the South Bitterroot Valley in western Montana that is in the nose of the state of Montana. If you take a look at it, it looks like there's a nose. Well, that's the Bitterroot Valley. It sits next to the Bitterroot Selway Wilderness, which is the
third largest wilderness in the lower 48.
It's 1.3 million acres of wilderness on the Montana-Idaho border. And so we are going to be concentrating on 3 communities there. We'll take you through the communities, show you some different real estate, houses at different price points, kind of the highlights of the area, and so that you can decide whether or not this is an area that would appeal to you. And if this is your first time to the Montana Real Estate channel, you'll want to subscribe and tap that notifications bell so that you're the first to know about new material that we come out with regarding communities in western Montana. And if you'll stay with us through the entire video, I've got some fun and interesting things that I can share with you about the South Bitterroot Valley, and so you don't want to miss that. So hang in there. My name is Craig Cyphers, and I work with my third-generation realtor daughter, Erica, at Cyphers Family Real Estate. And we've been helping families just like yours transition into Montana since 1966. And we get calls and emails every day from folks just like yourself who are considering moving to Montana, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're thinking about moving to Montana in 9 days, 90 days, 3 years, please reach out to us, email us, send us a text, give us a call. We're here to help make a nice transition for you. Everything that you need is in the description below to help you make a smooth transition to Montana. Now today we're going to be concentrating on the Bitterroot Valley. The Bitterroot Valley is just south of Missoula, Montana, the home of the University of Montana in the western part of the state, as I mentioned. And so it's this area right here that you can see. It's kind of a big hole. Goes down past Sula in the south end of the valley. And so we're going to concentrate on 3 communities down in this area. And I mentioned the Bitterroot Selway, and that's this, all of this is Bitterroot Selway out in here. As I mentioned, 1.3 million acres. Here's the Bitterroot Mountain Range, sits right here. So this is the area that we're going to be concentrating on. And so let's get more specific about what 3 communities we're going to look at. So in this video, we are going to concentrate on the communities of Darby, of Connor, and of Sula, all South Bitterroot Valley communities. And we are going to take a look at some real estate and some landmarks, etc. And so stick with us till the end of the video. We look forward to giving you some great information.
In Darby, population of about 1,000 people. Elevation here is 3,885 feet, so it's a little higher. And the weather here is a little bit different than in the north part of the valley. So what we're going to do here is we're going to see a couple of the neighborhoods, show you a couple of places so you can see, like we talked about, the budget. Darby was established in 1889, same year that Montana became a state, and it was named after the guy that put the application in for the post office. So anyway, let's go look at some real estate in Darby.
We're going to take in the business district first. So we are seeing on the left right there, that's Bitterroot Health, part of Marcus Daily Hospital. Really good medical facilities in the valley in general, but even first-class, world-class medical in Missoula, just about 80 miles to the north. Here's a dollar store here on the left. The locals have opportunity to take advantage of some of that, kind of a popular little place. There is a great demand for a Forest Service and government facilities. So you've got the Forest Service here on the left, where we have a number of personnel that work the Bitterroot National Forest and their offices, and sometimes housing is in this area. And Hank Williams Jr. actually had a restaurant at one time called the Montana Cafe, and Darby has their own version of it right there. And as we go down the road, we'll find it. We'll see the volunteer fire department coming up here on our left. Very community minded here in Darby. As I said, it's a relatively small community of roughly 1,000 people. And there's our fire department. As we get into the heart of town, there's been a lot of renovations, but there's some great restaurants, and there are some bars, taverns that have been completely refurbished that have really a great Western style and feel and theme. And one of the things that there have been a number of events that take place here. They used to have Logger Days in Darby. They do still have the Cat Hunters Ball. There's the 406 Saloon, the community center coming up here on the left of the next. There's your marshal's office in Darby. Talk about a Western theme. And you can see it in on the buildings, including the exit office right there on the left. Here's the candy store. So it's got a real old-time Western feel to it, and I'm sure that you would enjoy Darby. Let's take a look at some residential property here and get a feel for not only in town, but we'll go out and take a look at some rural property too.
So this is a home on Main Street in Darby. It's listed by our colleague, Ginny Wall. It's about 5,500 square feet. It is unfinished, and it has a price tag of about mid 500s. So this is an example of what you can get to be commercial or residential. We're going to go out and see some residential property here in the Darby area. There are only 2 listings, this being one of them, in residential property in Darby, so it's pretty popular. Let's go take a little tour through the town of Darby.
So here are, this is Old Town Darby. This is just on the east side of Main Street. This happens to be the Marshall Street area, but it's pretty typical of homes in Darby. It's kind of a mix. You can have manufactured homes. You can have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Most of these homes were built between 1920 and 1950 in this area. And of course, a number of them have been renovated. And one thing about this neighborhood is that there is only one other residential active listing in Darby right now. And Darby is pretty popular for a variety of reasons. And if we stay till the end of the video, I'll show you one of the great economic elements that has impacted Darby recently. But when we take a look at some of the pluses here in Darby are that it's probably as inexpensive a place to live in the Bitterroot Valley, which has gotten a little bit spendy. In addition to being affordable, there's a great little place built in 1930, about 1,400 square feet. That's the community library. But getting back to the affordability, it's also popular because it's so close to Lost Trail Powder Mountain, some of the best snow in western Montana, and a number of wildernesses. So you're roughly an hour and a half away from an international airport. You've got a quaint, friendly little town, a lot of pluses. Now, the least expensive property in Darby residential right now is this townhouse right here on the left. There are 3 units in it, 800 square feet. The list price on that is $375,000. Now let's go look at rural property. We're going to review our rural property in Darby on the west side benches, primarily because there's limited access to the east side over the Bitterroot River. This area is called Lake Como Orchards. The Bitterroot Valley was known for its orchards back at the turn of the 20th century. And this particular area is absolutely beautiful with the backdrop of the Bitterroot Mountains behind. There are homes that range here from 500,000 on up to over $1 million. And they range in size from about 2,000 square feet to over 3,000 square feet. And most all of these in Lake Como orchards are on 10-acre tracts. And those beautiful mountain views were backdrops for a variety of movies, not the least of which was, of course, Disorganized Crime, but that was with Fred Gwynne, Lou Diamond Phillips, Reuben Blades, Corbin Burnson, Hoyt Axton, Ed O'Neill, just a few names. This has been a home to, producers, writers, and actors such as Christopher Lloyd of Taxi and Back to the Future fame. So here we're looking at the Sapphire Mountains across the Bitterroot River, and we'll move on down to another area up on the west side. This is Stag's Leap. These are newer homes, and this is an example of what you might expect to see on the west side up Stag's Leap. These are newer homes, as you can see, much more contemporary, mountain contemporary. It's a very quiet area up here, lots of wildlife. And where we'll go from here is down to Connor, a very small community. And let's take a look and see what we see there.
Here we are in the thriving metropolis of Connor, Montana. Connor has a population of about 200 people in the zip code. Many of them live up on the west side off various creeks that were affected heavily by the 2000 firestorm that went through here. But Connor's named after Aaron Connor, and it was established in 1906. It's an unincorporated town, and 1906, the Connor.
Here is effectively a white spot in the road with a bar, restaurant, convenience store, and post office.
So here we are at the iconic restaurant and bar called the Rocky Knob. This lies just between Connor and Sula, and if you'll recall, when I started the video, I talked about Lost Trail Powder Mount, which is right on top of the pass. And this is a great spot to stop and have a beverage, a burger, a steak. It's been closed for quite a while, but they've been doing a lot of remodels, so we're expecting it hopefully to be open soon, maybe this spring. Anyway, the Rocky Knob. Coming back from Lost Trail Powder Mountain, stop at the Rocky Knob. Here we are at the Sula store. This community store was actually built in 1921. But interestingly enough, Lewis and Clark came through here and camped in this area in 1805. And that's where they met the Salish, and then they eventually called them the Flathead, mistakenly. And we'll talk more about that in another video. But this was called the French Basin and Ross's Hole because Alexander Ross, with some 55 Indian and white trappers and 89 women and 392 horses, stayed for a couple of months here in the early spring of 1824. In Ross's Hole, now Sula, and I'll describe that as we go up the road, why we call it Sula. But this is a great spot. It's just 15 miles away from Lost Trail Powder Mountain. As you can see right now, we're getting snow, so the skiers are going to be pretty happy about that. So we're going to continue on up the East Fork here to the Pintlers, and so stay with us.
This apparently is a very fast track through the very far end towards the Pintlers. This is Bonanza lands and also Billy Springer, which Billy Springer is an area where you can buy a home if you're a veteran on a half acre, whatever it is, and you have to be a veteran to do it. This area on the Bonanza lands is right up against the Pintler Wilderness area, and right at the end of the East Fork of the Bit. And so we don't want to go too fast down here because we've got to get to a place that we're going to see. So a lot of this upper area here was ranch land, and you can still see, let's say, for example, off to the right here, you'll see one of the ranches. They're very, very expensive places if you can find them. They're very rarely up for sale. You got a lot of acreage. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go down to this place down on right on the river on the East Fork. We don't have any audio. I just wanted to let you see the house. I wanted to let you know what was looking, around. There's
very typical situations where you have 1 acre lots. The East Fork is right on the other side of that draw there. And so you're right on the East Fork River and road in Sula. So let's go in and look at the house. I think you're going to like it. And I'm a lot better at real estate than I am at.
Well, we obviously have a little bit of snow here in the East Fork, which is not unusual because the East Fork is at about 4,500 feet in elevation here in Sula, Ross's Hole. It's a little cabin, log. Got our kitchen. This particular house is under contract and it will close probably in the mid 400s. So this gives you an idea of kind of a typical home that you might be able to find here in the West Fork. Right now they're doing radon, testing for radon for inspection. It's got a great little sunroom out here on the south side. Lots of times you can see deer. It's not uncommon to see deer. Got a couple of little bedrooms on the side. So we've got a master down here with here's the guest bath. And here's our master bedroom here and our master baths. So a typical little log home in Montana. And then it's got a nice sized loft here that we'll go check out and kind of give you an idea of what you might be able to find in the rural area of South Bitterroot Valley. Tongue Groove, we've got our chimney there. So that wraps it up on this little house. Just a typical house. Again, we'll close out at about mid 400s.
The first one that came up was Wood, long hair, Thompson, and his daughter's name was Ursula, and therefore Ursula Sula. Ursula Sula. So right here on the right is, if you can see it, is a beaver slide. That's how you used to put up hay. And then there was the Sula Church.
Here we are at the Darby Rodeo grounds. You know, Darby was originally very much into the lumber and timber industry. There are several mills here. In fact, right behind me was an old site of one of the mills. And the railroad spur came all the way down here primarily to serve hauling logs out. And Darby, the lumber industry kind of went away in the late 80s. And the mills are all gone now. But what Darby did is they decided, well, we need to have some sort of an identity. And so now Darby is some of the greatest rodeo in all of the United States, Mustang. So we're going to go take a look at the rodeo grounds.
Absolute beautiful day today. And I can tell you that Darby has really done a great job of re-identifying themselves from a lumber town to a rodeo town. From July 5th to the 6th, it's Twisted Nut Festival. From August 16th to the 17th is Wild West Rodeo. From September 13th to the 14th, Bulls, Broncs, and Barrels. And you can always get a hold of us wherever you think is best. I can tell you, this is some of the best rodeo you can see. But wait, there's more. Because at the end of this eclectic place is a skate park. And we're going to see it. And then we're going to get out of here. So at the end of a rodeo is a skate park. I got to tell you guys, it can't get any better than the Bitterroot Valley of Montana. Because rodeo, skate parks, skiing, snowboard, whatever you think is best, we're here for you. Love you. Give us a call. Let us know what you think.
So you might recognize this property. This is the Dutton Ranch from the Paramount television series Yellowstone. This property, of course, was in 1877, Chief Joseph and the Nez Perce, trying to escape the U.S. Army, went right through this area up into the Big Hole. And in 1800, the property was purchased as a ranch. It was called the Shelton Ranch. In fact, the water rights here were filed on in 1884. In 1914, William Ford, who was a glass tycoon, and the federal judge, Howard Hollister, 3,500 acres, and it was called the Fort Hollister Ranch. And then later, kind of in honor of Chief Joseph, it became the Chief Joseph Ranch. But for quite a while now, we recognize it as the Dutton Ranch. Here we are in Darby,